One of the biggest questions ever since Fox was acquired by Disney was how are they going to incorporate the X-Men, a storied franchise, sub-franchise, into the MCU? Because we all know it's going to happen, but how exactly do you make that work without convoluting everything? Well, there's a new theory. It's actually a pretty interesting theory. We're going to talk about it and how Sylvie and Loki, well, that could be the gateway for the X-Men into the MCU. Welcome, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos here. Welcome to the page. Do me a favor. Make sure you turn on those notifications if you're interested in anything that has to do with gaming, pop culture, Marvel, all the cool stuff, right? Now, if you are not following Loki, the Disney Plus series, I'll try not to spoil anything, but I'll just give you a spoiler alert anyway because I kind of have to talk about it. So keep that in mind, and if you are watching it, let me know what you think about it. So the big question is, especially after the tease where Kevin Feige is next to Hugh Jackman and everybody, just the internet erupts that Wolverine is going to make some type of cameo in the MCU. Well, now everybody's talking about theories. How do we get the X-Men into the MCU? Well, there's a really good theory going around, and it involves the Loki series, specifically Sylvie. Yep. That's right, she may inadvertently have already opened the door or the gate for the X-Men to come into the MCU. So we do know that vampires are now canon. We know that because Mobius kind of gave it away, right? We already got that part. But there's more to it than that, okay? And it actually simplifies things on a big level because up until this point, you kind of, you ask yourself and you say, well, when they bring the X-Men in, how is everybody going to explain where they've been throughout all the trials and tribulations of everything that's gone on in the world? How come none of them ever stepped up? If they were already organized in any manner, how come they never showed up? That's a hard one to actually kind of unwrap or unlayer the onion, right? Well, what if there was a back door to make it super easy and you didn't even have to go into detail or this long-winded explanation because we now have Nexus events. We now have the multiverse. We now have multiple branches that create other realities. So, spoiler alert, here we go. You guys know Sylvie had a lot of those temporal grenades and she set them all off across the sacred timeline. Not really sure why at this point, but I'm sure we'll find out later. And you had multiple branches that occurred. So this theory says that if Sylvie went back far enough, one of those alternate realities could have actually seen the X gene become dominant instead of it actually being dormant, which is a theory everybody says how you explain that they don't know what's going on because the X-Men and the mutants don't really know they're mutants and then they all start to figure it out, blah, 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 or something happens, some kind of cataclysmic event that makes the X gene, that makes it dominant. But what if they fixed that in the past? So you had this reality and the X gene was dominant, right? You got to go way back, but that would set the tone for the fact that the mutants are already here. They're just here in a split alternate reality that wasn't in the sacred timeline. Then you could literally just fill your entire roster of mutants and X-Men, all their powers and abilities. You could even take it to the point where maybe the initial confrontation when they kind of come into the MCU and they kind of meet the Avengers is not a pleasant confrontation. I think that would be a really cool way to spin it, but it's also a very good theory on how to get the entire X-Men universe, mutant universe if you will, into the MCU, because all bets are off. The multiverse literally makes it possible to do absolutely anything. So why not just say, you know what? Sylvie kind of went a little too far. She opened up an alternate reality far enough back and some little something happened where the X gene was dominant and they're all here. Poof. The X-Men have arrived. You guys let me know what you think. And if you don't like that theory, you give me your best theory to get them into the MCU in a non-convoluted, I guess you would say, just complicated way. Because it's a big task. I'll see you guys soon.